Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Collaboration Culture Podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Winborne. I am excited to be here and to have my lovely guest, Pastor Jocelin T. McElderry, who wants to be known as and is actually living out servant leadership. So I'm going to take a moment to be sure to share. Let's see here. Want to be sure to share. And while I share, Pastor Jocelin, you want me to call you just Jocelin tonight? Just Jocelin. Okay. I want to share you guys who she is, but I want to get a few guests on. So we're going to share the broadcast out. And while we do that, we're just going to wait a second and see who comes. And then I'm going to introduce you to my guest. All right. An official intro. All right. Shared. All right. Well, didn't doesn't take me long anymore. So hopefully we'll get some guests. It's 7 o'clock Tuesday evening. For those who watching live, please say hello, where you're watching from, who you are. And then for those who catch the replay, please be sure to say hello, where you watching from, and who you are as well. Um, my guest is not a guest to me. Like, she has been in everywhere on the scene. Everybody knows her locally and abroad. Jocelin T. McElderry has a bachelor's prepared registered nurse, is a bachelor's prepared registered nurse with over 30 years of experience. She was able to retire after 31 years of service to local government. She is the founder and CEO of the Connection Specialist, hence knowing everybody, but the Connection Specialist LLC, where she facilitates connections, networking, and collaborations of midlife women in business. As the Connection Specialist, Jocelin uses her unique approach to life and living the best life to her love of networking, connecting people, and collaboration. Speaking my language. Her dedication to empowering and uplifting women is unmatched. Women have found their identity in their careers instead of the life they have been given to live. It is Jocelyn's passion to help them find their tribe and be the great relational beings that God has called us all to be. And so, welcome, Jocelin, my friend. I'm so glad to have you in our leadership series, The Voices of Leadership. And so, if you would like to say anything before I move forward, please do.
It's awesome to be here with you, Kimberly. Even though you say I know everybody, but I think Kimberly knows a few more people than I do, which makes them people that I know ultimately.
Yes. We both know a lot of folks.
It's important to know people.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about that a little bit this
Mhm.
evening. Tell us where you are from though, because your bio doesn't share that. So where are you from originally? What's sort of your backstory so we can know a little bit about you?
I was actually born in Washington, D.C. Um, my parents are Mr. and Mrs. Thomas W. Hood Jr., and we moved from Washington, D.C. when I was like 5 years old. And so we planted in Clayton, which is where my main family is from. I am, my maiden name is Hood, and I live on Hood Farm Road. So that's how I got to be here. So I've been here a long time. I have one daughter and I have a grandson. So that's pretty much my story. But I've always been, they accuse me of being a social butterfly. So I've always been somewhat of a social butterfly, and I've not really had a hard time meeting people. And I meet them everywhere that I go. So it's been very interesting how these conversations come up now and how I've actually pivoted into doing what I do seamlessly. Actually, Kimberly, is real
Mhm.
easy because it's really easy to meet people if you just be friendly. You just got to show yourself friendly.
Yeah.
And I traveled with a coworker once, and
Mhm.
she said to me, she said it was the last One Love cruise actually, and she and I went on it, and she got back to the cabin and she was like, nobody would believe that you are like this. You have worked the whole room.
Yeah.
And
And
at that time, I didn't know that that was a thing.
it
It
is.
was just something I did. And when I would come back to sit down with her, I would tell her who everybody was, what they
Mhm.
told me about their businesses, what they told
Mhm.
everything. She said, nobody would think you were like this. She said, girl, you are amazing. You know everybody in this room. I said, I don't know them, but I know of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to get into that too, because
Mhm.
we're talking about leadership this evening, you all. One of the reasons why I wanted to do a series on leadership is not to point fingers at anyone, but to highlight the necessity of
Mm-hmm.
leadership. And for those who are in positions where you are leading others, it is essential for you, especially everybody watches the news, everybody knows all the various things going on. Even if you don't watch it every day, you can hear through the grapevine what's happening. And we see that there's a lack of leadership on every level. Corporate, churches, schools, there's a lack of strong leadership, and the children need it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one reason. But then also, what does the voice of leadership sound like? And how can you, average Joe, somebody who feels like they don't have a voice or nobody wants to hear it, how can you understand that you actually do, so that you can step into that role and walk into that opportunity to bless the life of others, or to inspire,
Mm-hmm.
motivate, encourage, because everybody is necessary for the one, if no more than that.
That's
If nobody told you before today and you feel worthless, helpless, whatever, there is at least one person out here in this world
right.
that you are supposed to be connected to. So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. Good evening, Tamika. Thank you for joining. And to anyone else who is watching, if you don't mind, if you're here and you don't mind saying hello, please do so. And then also, if you all don't mind, share the broadcast. And if you have any questions around
Mm-hmm.
leadership, in this series, I'm bringing those who I know are walking in leadership, who others follow, right? That's one of the sayings, that you're not a leader if no one is following you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I question that sometimes, like from how it's delivered. Sometimes, however, it is true. Like someone, at least one person is following you,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a responsibility. So, Jocelyn, what is the voice of leadership? When you hear that term, the voice of leadership, what does that mean to you?
One of the things that I know happens with us as people
Mm-hmm.
is that we are bowled over by the word
Mm-hmm.
leadership.
Yeah.
And so, what we don't realize is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you lead from the pulpit. It doesn't necessarily mean that you lead from the CEO position of a company. Who is who are you that a person comes to you for a thing? I never realized that I was actually a leader growing up, but everybody was always coming to me for stuff. And then as I was growing up, I was the one that had the car. Then as I matriculated into the work world, I was the one they would always put somebody new with. So I never thought of it, because in nursing we call it precepting. We don't necessarily call it leadership, but it's a leadership
Hmm.
position because you're creating
Yeah.
the beginning of a new nurse.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, you're a leader,
Mm-hmm.
but because we called it precepting, we didn't consider it that.
Yeah.
Uh, and even just in everyday life, I
Mm-hmm.
was the mom that all the kids hung out with.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about it as such. I just thought of it as being a mom.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that makes leadership what it is in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good servant.
Mm.
You cannot lead anyone if you haven't served.
Mm-hmm.
Servitude, that's my thing. That's my
Mm-hmm.
jam.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't associate leadership and servitude.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you need me to do, that's what I'm going to do. Even sometimes I'll just jump in and do something that nobody else noticed needed to be done,
Right.
which translates into leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
That's all it is. And just being able to articulate that
Mm-hmm.
gives you the voice of
Mm-hmm.
leadership. Being able to connect two people.
Mm-hmm.
The person that needed the connection thinks of you as the leader in that particular aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I think, to your point, that people do make it bigger than what it is. It's something that I talk about when I talk about entrepreneurship when I go to speak. A lot of times people are the entrepreneurship seems to be like this island sort of a journey experience to get to, and those who have made it, then they're whatever. It's like it seems to be so big and beyond folks. And what I tell people, it's just a choice and a decision. And so when you get up and you make the decision to go and work for yourself, and then of course get to the place where hopefully others are working for you, et cetera, the process continues. It's still just a choice, just like anybody getting up to go to a 9 to 5. And so it's the words that make it such a big thing. And so the same thing when it comes to leadership, when you call somebody, oh, you're a leader, and they say, oh no, I'm not a leader. But they may have students that follow them. They could be a teacher. They may have people on the bus. They could be a bus driver. That's a leader. Like, everybody has an opportunity, and someone is leading them. And so now, I mean, someone is following them, or will have the opportunity to follow them. And so just stepping into that role and saying, hey, I'll take this initiative, at least right here, like you talked about, being a servant leader. It could be a person that's behind the scenes in the kitchen all the time, but they're a leader. And so I want to talk about that when it comes to fostering connections. Why is it important to foster connection in community as a leader? Why, with what you do, why is that an important thing to bring people together and connect people as a leader? Why is that important to you?
It's important because too often we find ourselves trying to operate out of a silo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Too often as humans, things that have happened to us in our lives tend to make us be isolated from others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when you connect with another person, for example, midlife women, when you connect with a woman, another woman that may have gone through a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and you discover that she's not that much different from you.
Yeah.
So now you've made a connection with someone and you don't feel as isolated as you did in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you and her go out to dinner and you meet another lady that has possibly been through the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so now you have several of you that have been through similar circumstances, and each one of you brings something new to the table.
Yeah.
So connecting with people is vital because God created us to be relational beings.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we just are afraid of making the connections because we feel that we're so much different from someone else. When in actuality, we are all more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
Every woman has probably had a schoolgirl crush on someone and was broken by it
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
just that just happens. That's a part of growing up and a part of being a
Yeah.
part of life.
Mm-hmm.
All of us have somehow had those situations where we thought we liked him a whole lot more than he liked us. But if we never connect with other women and sit down and start the conversation, we don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
There are many women that have mother wounds and father wounds and all those types of things. But if we don't ever connect on some level, we never find that out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a blessing to have connections. It's a blessing to be able to have someone to call you and say, girl, I was thinking about you. How are you? Or
Yes.
vice versa. Or I call
Mm-hmm.
you and say, hey, girl, you were on my mind. How are you doing? That's
Mm-hmm.
a vital part of life
Mm-hmm.
because those connections give us life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
important.
when it comes to the sound or the voice, the sound of leadership, your sound is obviously servant leadership. It is whether you need to be out front or in back. It is to serve. And what I would like to ask you concerning leadership and concerning being a servant leader, how do you deal with the emotional IQ, the heart of it all? There are people who are going to do, say, be, all types of things that will sometimes crush you when you're trying your best to be the best leader, the best servant, a leader especially, and it doesn't seem like it's appreciated. How do you continue to maintain your posture as a leader?
Because the whole crux of the thing is what what is your motive for serving?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, why are you serving in this particular area?
Mm-hmm.
You can be called to that area, and as a servant, you just step up and step in.
Mhm.
You see a need and you meet the need.
Mhm.
One of the things that we know is that one person can't see everything.
That's true.
That's why it takes a team.
Mhm.
There are people that are good at seeing what needs to go on in front of the camera. There are
Mhm.
people that are good at seeing what needs to be done behind the camera.
Mhm.
There are people that are good at just watching people and recognizing that they have something that they need, or that you can give them something they need. It was so funny. I went with my parents to church earlier this month, and
Mhm.
my dad would always bring the pastor a sweat towel.
Mhm.
This particular Sunday, he didn't bring it,
Mhm.
and nobody else noticed. So the pastor ultimately didn't have one.
Right.
And he said, made mention of it. He said, normally Mr. Hood would bring me a sweat towel. I'm up here crying and carrying on, and I don't have one. So my dad saw the need, so he normally would have brought him one. But this particular
Mhm.
morning, for some reason, he forgot. But that's what it's about, is seeing a need and providing that thing in that need without necessarily having to be asked to do it.
Right.
There are just some things that I notice that some people might not.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I think that's just the gift that God has given me, that I
Mhm.
just happen to see that. And it gives me pleasure to be able to serve others, to help them be the best that they can possibly be. Because when you serve others, you help them accomplish what their goal may be,
Mhm.
and not even
Absolutely.
realize that that was their goal, but you help them to shine.
Mhm.
That's
Well.
why I enjoy serving. It's because I want you to shine. So
Mhm.
any way I can help you do that, that's what I'm willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that servant leadership, that defined servant leadership that I wanted to talk about. And I think you just already went over that. And so one of the things I think that you said as far as the voice of leadership and being a
Mhm.
servant leader is knowing exactly why you're doing what you're doing. Let's talk about defining and understanding who you are in order to be able to be authentically walking in that confidence that this is what you're supposed to do. So if you are remaining in the kitchen and you're not getting recognition out front, or you're not out front, it's okay because of the fact that that is your role. How did you get to that place? I mean, like, I'm sure it wasn't like overnight that was, hey, yeah, this is who I am and I know that I'm supposed to be. I'm sure there was a story there. So how did you get to that place? And, how do you recommend that others journey through the leadership development process?
I think I learned early on that I enjoy being God's hands and feet extended. And I
Mhm.
operated in it regularly. And it came easy to me. So being in the kitchen, I absolutely loved it. That worked for me. I want to make sure the chicken pan stays full. I want to make sure that everything runs off without a hitch behind the scenes,
Mhm.
so that the the whole looked good.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, if you think about it, you think about like you catered.
Mhm.
Your goal was to make sure that everything always looked good, and everything was always available for those that were at the event.
Mhm.
So that was something that I loved to do.
Mhm.
And I just kept that up. But I also became ultra sensitive to people and their feelings when it came to certain things. And I
Mhm.
paid attention to those things that I needed.
Mhm.
And so I was quick to recognize that someone else didn't get it.
Mhm.
And so I started working in that arena as well. Some of the things that I do were born out of my needs. And
Mhm.
I felt like if I needed it, somebody else probably needed it as well.
Yeah.
Hence the card ministry.
Yep. Which
That's
is which is a blessing to so many. And that's something so what she's talking about, for those who don't know, Jocelyn, that are watching, one of the things that she likes to do is surprise people with a message that is given to her by God, and she might send she know everybody mailing address. Don't nobody know anybody mailing addresses these days, but Jocelyn McElderry. And so you just go to your mailbox, and there will be a card with a beautiful message, especially for you, handwritten. And that is something that has been a blessing to many people, because I've heard them say that. And so to that point, you may not get cards in return, right? But because you're saying, like, as a servant leader, you know that your responsibility, your role on this earth is to serve, and that brings you joy. Then regardless of if you get that back, it doesn't necessarily matter. Now, I'm sure you get reciprocity in some capacity, some shape or form, because that's just how God works. But you may not get a card back because somebody else may have a different sort of sort of love or ministry or whatever. So that's one of the tips I want people to really think about, especially as you're building your businesses, you're trying to build families, teams, whatever it is. Walking in authentically who you are and understanding that, and then understanding that others are not going to be exactly like you, is going to bless your whole life.
Whole life.
It is going to change the game. So you want to say anything more about that, like understanding that everybody is not going to be you, and how that is effective in leadership?
The very first thing you need to know is that when God graces you with a gift,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't grace everybody with the exact same gift.
True.
So, one of the things that I learned early on, because even as I collected addresses or whatever, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't give me the permission to give out mine,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe he wanted to teach me that this is not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I had to learn that this is a gift that he's graced me with,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not for everybody. So I
Yeah.
don't expect necessarily reciprocity in that manner.
Yeah.
All of us are different, and we're created different. And I tell people all the time, God doesn't create cookie cutter people.
That's true.
He has created each and every one of us
Mm-hmm.
different on purpose and for purpose. So even in your business, one of the things that we have to learn is, what are our strengths?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we can hire to our weakness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody might not be the supervisor that knows everybody's birthday, that
Mm-hmm.
knows everybody's family members, goes to all their children's graduations. That might not be that person,
Mm-hmm.
but that person makes sure that you have all the tools you need to effectively do your job.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So a lot of times,
Absolutely.
yeah, so a lot of times we just have to learn who we are and how we function,
Mm-hmm.
how we were created to function. Yes, we're all women, but we have different strengths.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
We have
Yes.
different strengths.
And let's talk for a second about the women or men in your life that have been leadership sources, mentors, so forth and so on. And how has that shaped your leadership journey to, like, now you're in different roles in leadership. And so how have those relationships helped to shape you? What is the importance of those relationships? Because I really want people to understand, because I used to be a person that was like, I don't really need a this or that. I can study, I can Google, I can, learn on my own. So can you share with us the value of mentors, leaders, other folks in your life that have led you to where you are?
Wow. The It's invaluable,
Mm-hmm.
priceless. Because everyone that comes into your life as a leader brings something different.
Yeah.
And a good leader in your life also helps you recognize your deficits.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you learn based on how they mentor you and lead you.
Yeah.
Um, for a long time in government, I had what I call my work mama.
Mm-hmm.
My work mama helped me with my money.
Mhm.
She taught me by saying, okay, Jocelyn,
Mhm.
when you get a raise, you
Mhm.
put that someplace else because you're
Mhm.
not used to getting it.
Mhm.
She says, add that to your 401k to grow your 401k because you're not used to getting it anyway. So don't put it into the regular budget to spend.
Mhm.
So I had someone to help me with that. Then I had one that said, well, Jocelyn, I don't know why you dating him because it's not going to go anywhere. And I was like, oh, okay. But you have to have someone in your world that you've connected with that loves you enough to tell you the pure, unadulterated truth.
Yep.
And that's what she did. But at the
Mhm.
same time, she also recognized that my strong suit was I'm going to come to work. I'm going to come to work on time and I'm going to work when I get there.
Mhm.
And that she can trust me to not play around when she wasn't there.
Mhm.
So therefore, we developed that relationship based originally off of that.
Mhm.
She could count on me. And that was how our relationship fostered and grew. And she got to the point that she was just like another mom to me. And she would
Mhm.
tell me the truth about things. Or if I did something that wasn't conducive to my growth, she also would let me know that. She would say, that's
Mhm.
not going to work for you.
How does
Because
she say it? How does
she
she
would just,
say it? That's what would she say it like just brutally or soft or how would she
mm-mm,
say it? Because I know today's young people, like I remember getting said things too that I look
mm-hmm.
back on and I'm like, I'm so glad this person said this to me. And they didn't always sugarcoat it, but some of the best lessons that I have had in my life have come from the village. So how did she say it and
she
how
was,
did you receive it?
she would say, Jocelyn, that is not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I got out of that was number one, you called my name so you know who I am. Number two, you said it's not going to work for you. So that
Mm-hmm.
means you paid enough attention to me to know who
Mm-hmm.
I am, how I operate, even some of my faux pas, some of my pains,
Mm-hmm.
because we've had conversations about it.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever she said something to me, I valued her opinion so much that she could have said it however she said it, and I was okay with that because she
Mm.
still said with love.
Yeah.
She would not
Mhm.
tell me anything that was detrimental to me. I
Mhm.
learned that from her.
Mhm.
She let me know I love you, and I want to make sure that I get the best out of you. Is it
Mhm.
always going to feel good? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, that's the same lady when she got ready to retire, she started crying
Mhm.
because I don't want to leave you here.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
had to say to her, you've given me everything that I need to be successful here.
Mhm.
So I will be just fine
Mhm.
because she had taught me so much along the journey.
Yeah.
And even as I've continued to move forward, there are
Mhm.
people that have taught me so many things in ministry, taught me so many things just in life. Uh,
Mhm.
People that took the time to get to know who you are.
Yeah. So do you
Because
think that that's a valuable step in, saying something to someone, whereas back in the day they just, said it, right? But today's delivery needs to be laced in a relationship that
right,
has been developed through some level of trust. You would say that's the
right,
the best
right.
approach. Yeah.
Just like people buy from you because they know, like, and trust you,
Yeah.
you can take um, healthy criticism from someone you know, like, and trust.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's not going to be something that's going to be harmful to you. They're going to
Yeah.
bring you information that's really
Mhm.
good. Like
Mhm.
one of our mentors, um,
Mhm.
she says what she says the way she
Mhm.
says it, and she means it.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
But we know that
Mhm.
she does not mean it from a place of harm.
Mhm.
It comes from a place of wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I want.
wisdom of working with all types of people and mentoring all types of people. We won't
Yes.
just walk up on the street and say, honey, your skirt too short.
Mhm. I know.
That's not something that you can do. You
Mhm.
develop a relationship with them,
Mhm.
and then you may be able to have that type of conversation.
Mhm.
I think too often what has happened for us now is that everybody has gotten so busy with their own things that they have not taken the time to share with others and connect with others on a level other than superficial.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Good evening to everybody who's joined, Sharania, Tammy, and also Keisha and Dr. Kenya. Good evening to everyone. Want to say hello officially. And so, to that point of wisdom, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this series, I think, and I know for a fact, because the generation, like my generation, for instance, we may not look like how 40 looked, right? And so we want to be young forever. We want to just, look like we're 20 years old, and you hear the 60-year-old saying 60 is the new 50, all this different stuff, right? And so where is the wisdom getting transferred if everybody is trying to walk or live some level of I won't say irresponsibility, but have not taken the responsibility that some of the village prior, when we were growing up, took on. And so I understand what you're saying about relationship, and absolutely agree. But one of the conversations I had to have with some of my friends a couple years ago, I realized, like, when my mom, for instance, and her friends were in their 40s, they were like the aunties, right? They were giving wisdom. I remember, and even the men, I remember how I realized that I needed to wear a slip, which who I don't think, does anybody have a slip anymore? But anyway, I do too. I wore one the other day. But anyway, most people don't. But I remember that lesson came from a deacon in the church, right? It was a deacon in the church, but it wasn't perverse. It was necessary. But some of the major lessons that I take with me, Sharenia says, yes, she does. She has a slip. And Tamika, we all have slips on me. But it's those lessons that I have brought with me today, like the value of certain things, right? But it took the village. It took the village because my mom wasn't always around, and my mom, in the sense that your parent can't be every single place that you are, and so I remember learning about certain things when you go to the restroom after you reach a certain age and you develop and you get, all right. So your body changes and you begin to become a woman. Everybody knows what happens. And some of the lessons that I got around how to walk into womanhood and, came from other people. So
That's right.
as the actual now aunties, remember the other day I asked you, what is actually middle age? Because none of us that are 43 and 43 plus want to consider ourselves middle age. But from the perspective of responsibility, I think we do need to walk in that. How can I now transfer the wisdom that I have to this younger generation so that I can make a difference? Back to what you were saying as far as servant leadership. So what are your thoughts on how we can do that? And is that even possible today to be able to be that voice, to be that auntie in the community?
Well, it's amazing that you say that because every everywhere I go, that's what I get.
Auntie.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I can go to a mastermind function, and I literally, the last mastermind function that I went to,
Mm-hmm.
I walked up to a young man and I said, I have a question. And he had on nail polish. And so I
Okay.
said, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what is it? I said, can you tell me why you wear nail polish?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me, his eyes lit up like I had gave him $1 million. And he was like, I love you. And I was like, what I do? He said, because you asked. He said,
Uh-huh.
you didn't make an assumption. You didn't try to figure it out. You just asked me.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I was his auntie from then till now.
Yeah. Because
Because
it's
he said there's
necessary.
power in that. He said, I
Yeah.
love that you asked, that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
just make an assumption. So
Yeah.
sometimes when I don't understand a thing, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
I come from a place of I wanted to know
Mm-hmm.
and not come in a place of judgment or conviction.
Judgment.
You
Mhm.
know, so that's what makes it different. So we get a
Mhm.
chance to laugh and talk about that.
Mhm.
I've literally had people that I've worked with just walk up to me and just start telling me their story.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I would just be like, huh, what just happened? You know?
Yeah.
And so I was
Yeah.
like, okay, God,
Mhm.
evidently I've got something that makes people
Mhm.
want to do that.
Yeah.
So help me be able to give them wisdom in what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Help me to see them as you see them
Yeah.
and to love them as you love them and
Mhm.
to be able to even have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
And I found that that was okay.
Mhm.
Or one of the things that happened was the mother started getting younger, so the grandmother started getting younger. So
Absolutely.
now grandma didn't want to be grandma
Mhm.
because she felt like she was too young to be somebody's grandma.
Mhm.
But everybody needs you in that situation
Mhm.
because if the mama was young, there's some things that she needs from you.
Mhm. Yeah.
And because of that, we need to have some conversations and
Mhm.
just bringing the conversation to the table without judgment,
Mhm.
without sounding condescending. And
Mhm.
sometimes just asking a question, what is it that makes you do that?
Mhm.
Or what does that mean? I'm
Yeah.
not sure I understand what that means.
Mhm.
Where, how can we rectify this?
Mhm.
And then just having conversations about what they need to know. For
Mhm.
example, when it comes to the slip and the
Mhm.
foundations,
Mhm.
by the way,
Mhm.
I had a supervisor that she said, you know, it just makes your clothes slide better.
Mhm.
So I held on to that. I
Mhm.
said,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna take a page out of her book. Just help your clothes slide better. And then
Yeah.
the other thing I would say is, well, you know, back in my day or back in your grandma's day,
Mhm.
um, they made clothes that had full linings and
Mhm.
they made clothes that were of certain quality. So you
Mhm.
may not always have to have that. Well,
Mhm.
that's no longer the case. So we
Mhm.
may need to add an extra layer of protection because the material is not the same.
Mhm.
Things are cheaper made. So,
Yeah.
you know, we need just a little bit of help to make
Mhm.
sure that we're not putting things on display that don't need to be.
Mhm.
And typically, they're like, well, I never thought about it like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just coming from a place of genuine concern,
Mhm.
love, no condemnation, not being condescending, and not acting like you're just judging them
Mhm.
because of what they wear.
Yeah.
And I think that helps to bring the conversation full circle. And then
Yeah.
they'll start asking you about it.
Yeah. And
They'll
I
start asking you, well, you know, I had a lady walk up to me. She said, you always look so good in your clothes.
Mhm.
So my first
You
response
do.
was, and she said, "Thank you." She said, "Well, what size do you wear?" I said,
Mhm.
12 to 18.
Mhm.
She said, "You can't wear 18." I said, "There's some parts of me that can."
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I have to work with that part first.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then I may have to do some alterations. And I
Mhm.
said, it's that's a thing for me. But I
Mhm.
grew up, my dad was the baby of 6 and
Mhm.
he had 5 sisters.
Mhm.
They wore my nerves out. You know, you had to be dressed when you went
Mhm.
out. You had to put on
Mhm.
clothes and go somewhere.
Yeah.
So what has happened though is that the grandmother got younger, and so the grandmother didn't wear it.
Mhm.
So the girl didn't see it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
she made that was her mom, and she might not have ever seen that.
Mhm.
The other thing is that,
Same thing with the men and
and then yeah,
some of the
you're right.
attire, yeah.
Yeah, I thought my dad was gonna be like, why they got on earrings? That was a thing for him.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that was a
agree,
thing.
Keisha. I find all girls and young adult women
They
want wisdom
do.
and knowledge. They desire us to speak and teach,
That's
showing
right.
up in love and kindness.
Right.
And I think even and to your point, Keisha, and I think even if they've never seen it, there's a desire and a hunger for that. And the right person, back to what you were saying, Jocelyn, when you talked about the basically the gentleness, the
Mhm,
approach, with the young man, and
mhm.
times are changing. So we're seeing a bunch of things that we wouldn't see across the board. More men wearing makeup and nails, polish, and different things like that, while you may see more women, dressing a specific way as well, wearing suits. And so everything is changing, and it's so important, as you mentioned, as a leader, not to lead with judgment, harshness, how your approach is, how your face shows up. Sometimes our face shows up before us, body language, all of those things. So when you're walking in a position of leadership, you definitely have a responsibility to
That's
be,
right.
especially what your core values you say are, who you're following, if you're a follower of Christ, for instance, and then you showing up as the opposite, just as nasty as the person on the street, just as turning up your face and having an attitude and all of those things. So let's talk about body language and times changing, and you already touched on some of it, Jocelyn, when you were talking about um, the young man, but on the job, in our leadership roles, as we build our businesses, when it comes to our customers, when it comes to those who we are coming across, I really want you to hone in once again. I know it's sort of repetitive, but hone in once again on the significance of having core values, having integrity, and being an example of who you say that you follow, what you say you believe, and how significant that is to your leadership.
One of the things that is important to me is that everybody know. I know Elaine got it right there, right? A man, safety pin, love, and a
Love and
hug.
thank you, Elaine, for that walk
Sometimes
down
they,
memory lane.
sometimes they forego the hug
Yep.
because but it was. We recognized that it was not something that was to our detriment, even if it was harsh. Because I'll never forget, I grew the most in a Baptist church, and one of the mothers walked up to me and she rubbed my leg from my
Mm-hmm.
thigh to my ankle one day. She said,
Okay.
"I'm trying to see if you had on some stockings."
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, "She's gone on the glory." I said, "Well, Miss Catherine, they do make them flesh color now."
Mm-hmm. Yes, they
So,
do.
yes, ma'am, I
Yes,
do
they
have on
did.
some stockings, but I was not offended by that at all
Mm-hmm.
because I knew her.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew she didn't mean it in a mean way. And we
Mm-hmm.
just laughed about it and we kept
Mm-hmm.
going. One of the things that I try to do is I've made a I've made a decision that I've had enough trauma and
Mm-hmm.
enough tears behind me that I'm gonna laugh the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 times out of 10, when you see me, I'm gonna be smiling and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be laughing
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that when you show up like that, it puts other people at ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I hadn't always been like that though. There was
Mm-hmm.
a time that I didn't think I deserved to be in the room.
Mm-hmm.
There was a
Yeah.
time that I didn't feel like I deserved
Mm-hmm.
certain things because of my issues. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we project our issues onto
Oh,
other people.
yes, ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
it has nothing to do with them, but it has
Mm-hmm.
everything to do with you. So
Mm-hmm.
I make it a point to leave my baggage at home and
Please.
come
Yeah.
fresh, new, and excited about being in a place. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to greet you like I'm genuinely glad to see you
Yeah.
every time I see you, if
Mm-hmm.
possible. Unless
Mm-hmm.
we're in a situation that can't be done, I'll get around to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going
Yeah.
to get around to it because there were some things that I didn't get coming up. So I recognize that the other people may not get it either.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come to you warm
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that everybody deserves that.
Mm-hmm.
And my motto is um, I don't know what happened before you got here,
Mm-hmm.
but I want you to be comfortable while you're here with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It gives me the ability to be able to say the hard things. Once you realize that Miss Jocelyn is coming and she coming in hot. She coming. She coming in
Yeah.
hot. She gonna be laughing. She gonna hug me. She gonna
Yeah.
do all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So that if it gets to the point that I need to have a hard conversation, they can receive that from me.
Right. Yeah.
Because I didn't come in looking like I've been sucking on lemons all the time. You know,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I can remember growing up, even, coming into the church. I used to tell the church mothers, I said, why y'all be so mean?
Mhm.
And I had a lot of questions growing up.
Yeah. Me
So
too.
I remember how they treated me. So now I
Yeah.
say, what's your question? We're going to
Mhm.
figure out. If I don't know, we're going to find us somebody that does.
Mhm.
But what we're
Yeah.
not going to do is leave here today with your question unanswered. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, what we have done is we bring the way we grew up to these children now. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's
That's
not going to
true.
work.
That's
We can't
true.
do that with them. They're
Mhm.
sensitive. They're really sensitive. There are certain things that really charge them in a manner.
Mhm.
So we have to work towards seeing and recognizing that they have needs and trying to meet those needs. But
Mhm.
we've got to pay attention to them and not
Mhm.
always look at them with the eye of judgment or look at them, girl, I don't know why she got that on. Well, she got
Mhm.
it on because that's all she got.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
health department helped me with that. When I
Mhm.
worked in the health department, I had to learn that they had needs that they
Mhm.
were not getting met at home.
Yeah.
So not only was I
Absolutely.
their nurse or the supervisor in the clinic, but I was their surrogate mother too.
Mhm. Yep.
So therefore, I had to meet the need while they were with me. And
Mhm.
even sometimes when they weren't with me, they would still call.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, Miss Jocelyn, this happened. What do I need to do?
Mhm.
So we have to recognize how we can fit into where they are.
Absolutely.
Now, does that mean we give up what we believe? No.
Mhm.
But we share it with them in a manner that they become comfortable enough with us that they
Mhm.
keep coming back.
Yeah.
Keisha Couser couldn't do what she does if she does not make them feel comfortable in
Mhm.
her presence.
Yeah. Yep. Do you think that to be a leader you must have compassion?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's impossible to not have compassion in leadership because
Mhm.
even those that are around you at the same level as
Mhm.
you are have things
Yes.
and they
Mhm.
bring things to the table. Everybody shows up with life.
Mhm.
Whatever their life looks like, that's what they show up with.
Mhm.
And because of that, we have to learn how to be compassionate to those that are not like us,
Mhm.
even when we think it's something that they should not be doing.
Yep.
But how would they know that it's something they should not be doing if nobody's ever had a conversation with them about it?
Right. Yep. Yep.
That it's something that it's a growth thing. I think about when you come to Christ, you come as you are.
Mhm.
But as the Holy Spirit grows in you, there are some things that no longer become comfortable for you.
Shouldn't.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back in the day, they told us, "Do as I say and not as I
Not
do."
as I do.
Well,
Yep.
child, we was watching.
Heard that one enough.
We were watching though. We was like, "Wait a minute now. You said
But
don't do that, but
why? I would ask questions, get in
me too,
trouble.
Kim, and
But
get
why? That
shooed
don't
right out
make
the room."
sense. I smack. That doesn't make sense. Smack.
Boy, don't ask me that. How dare
Yeah.
you ask me that? Well, who am
Uh-huh.
I supposed to ask?
Right.
Where am
Like,
I
aren't
supposed to
you
get
my
the information?
yeah,
Right.
I'm supposed to learn from you.
But you got to remember, nobody did it for them.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times, if you go back and you look at where you
Mhm.
come from, you'll
Mhm.
come to realize that there are things that you needed to know that nobody ever really talked to you about.
Mhm.
Or
Yep.
you had a question that nobody ever seemed to be able to answer until you
Mhm.
got to be an adult and you still asked that question. And then somebody took the time to spend time with you and explain it and to help
Mhm.
you understand. Well, this is the reason that this happened, and this is the reason that that happened. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, we don't also give our babies the credit that they're due
Mhm.
because they are so much wiser now than we
Really.
were at their age.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
have to be able to recognize that and get prepared.
Mhm.
Get prepared because they'll ask some things these days that you just kind of go, ooh.
I love it. I love it.
Ooh.
The other day, well, this is a sidebar, and then I want to ask you one more question. Sophie was talking about the Little Mermaid and the whole, thing with Haley Bailey and
Hmm.
the scenario there, and she sent me a text, and she was just appalled at the racism and misogyny that is still rampant in America, and those are the words that she used. And I was like, oh, okay. I did not know what the word misogyny
Misogyny was, you had
to
to go look
use
it up,
in a
right?
sentence in the eighth grade. Yeah, right. Like, I mean, I know it now, but in the eighth grade, to use that word in a sentence correctly and be appalled by it. So, yeah, they are
Yeah.
so smart, so
But you got to
wise.
remember too, think about this. And this is something that I think about myself as well. Sophie is
Hmm.
also an only child.
Hmm.
So, as her mom, you have given her the best of you because she's the
Yeah,
only
she's
one that you had to be
watching.
concerned with. Some of our
Hmm.
ancestors had 10, 12, and 20.
Yeah.
They did good to be able to call all their names, much less to
Facts.
have conversations with each one.
Yeah.
But um, and I think that's something that's great when it comes to only children, because
Hmm.
little children, your only children read a lot
A
because
lot.
that's where they
Yeah.
can escape into somebody else's world.
Hmm.
They tend to ask a lot of questions and we spend more time with them because we only have that one.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and watching the news and all of that.
right. Yeah, and they're very self-aware, something that we
Mhm,
weren't.
mhm, yeah.
I can remember one time my grandson told his mom, he said, "Well, Ma, I can't work in a warehouse." Or better yet, he said, no, he said, "I can't work in a place where someone is going to be breathing down my neck." He
Mm,
said, "You just tell me what to do. I'm going to put my earphones in and I'm going to go do it."
mhm,
So he realized that he didn't need somebody walking behind him telling him what to do every step.
absolutely.
He said, "You
Yeah,
just give me the assignment
that's not gonna work.
and I'm going to go on over here and I'm going to do it.
Mhm,
And we're going to make this thing work." That was self-awareness for him.
yeah, yeah, yep,
So what happens is that they are learning so much more because they have
mhm,
access to so much more. Now
that's
that's
so
a
true.
blessing and a curse at the same time,
Mhm, and we have to
because
monitor it.
now right, you have to make sure that you pay attention to what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yep, yep.
Google is your friend, but it can also be your enemy.
Yep, and it can get folks in trouble or them cell phones.
Okay.
I want to
Right.
ask you before we wrap up, how do you start and end your day as a leader, as a person who is getting pulled on left and right all the time because you wear several hats? You're a leader in your church, you're a leader with us at the Praying CEO, you're a leader in your own business, and so many other spaces. So, how do you start and end your day?
Well, I'm an early riser.
Yes.
So that's the first thing is I rise
Mhm.
early.
Mhm.
I start with prayer, devotion, reading my
Mhm.
Bible. Typically, I'm on a prayer call at 6.
Mhm.
So I start with the thing that's going to set me up for the rest of the day.
Mhm.
And that's talking to the Father and
Mhm.
asking questions. What are we going to do today?
Right.
How do I
Amen.
do that?
Mhm.
Even though I may have created a schedule, I still present it to him because I
Mhm.
need him to establish my plans.
Mhm.
And I find that when I don't do that, that's when my day is awry.
Mhm.
Anything happens, anything goes, whatever.
Mhm.
I can't get it
Mhm.
together, all of those things. So
Yeah.
that's how I typically start my day. And because I genuinely love people, people are involved in every step of that journey.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm on a prayer call at 6 and I'm the greeter.
Oh, good morning.
And and when I'm not on there, they feel like they've been cheated.
I
My
would
girl,
too, because I know you come with energy in the morning.
and that's what she said.
Everybody
She's
else,
like,
good morning, y'all.
uh, mm, and and it's
Praise the
so
Lord.
funny because they're like, "How in the world are you that chipper this early in the morning?" And I'm like, "Girl, I got up. Somebody did not.
Yes.
I got up."
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remind people, I was in the grocery store one day and this little
Mhm.
lady, I said, "Hi, how you doing?" And she said,
Mhm.
"Well," she gave me a whole grocery list of things that were wrong. And I
Mhm.
looked at her and I said, "But ma'am," I said, "How old are you?" And she
Mhm.
told me, she said, "Girl, I'm old," so forth and so on. I said, "That's not old. You're just seasoned."
Mhm.
I said, "And it
Yeah.
has been a pleasure for me to talk to you." I said, "But we almost lost 1 million people to COVID. And you and
Mhm.
I are still standing here in the grocery store having a conversation."
Mhm. Yep.
She looked at me, she said, "You have changed my whole morning." She said,
Perspective is
"Because,"
everything. It's
right. She said,
king.
"I did not even think about it from that perspective."
Such a blessing.
I
Yep.
said, "Babe," I said, "Ma'am,"
Mhm.
I got up.
Yeah.
So I'm about to work somebody's nerves today because I'm excited about getting up.
Yeah.
And it's
You know, that
amazing how people just
ooh,
look at you and be like, "I had never thought about it like that." I did the same thing in
yeah.
TJ Maxx. I was like, "Hey girl, how you doing? These pants look like they're a little too small, don't they?" And we just began to have a whole
Convers
conversation, about
yeah.
that. Because I was like,
Yeah.
this, I don't think this is my size. I'm gonna put these
Right.
back. And you
So
just
that
end up having a conversation with
that
people
leads me back
all
to connection.
that's
Always
right.
that leads me back to connection, Jocelyn,
Yeah,
and, I think that's a perfect way to end because that's why we need each other. The stranger that you approach with that perspective shift, she needed that. She was in her own little whatever, and she needed that shift. And just a few sentences, you were able to change her day, at least her day. And who knows?
right,
Who
right.
knows from there. And so this is why connection is so necessary. And so I had to, I noticed it's a plug for the connection specialist right there. Right, right. I
I love
got
it.
up. Elaine said, I got up. Look, you got her
Yes,
excited.
ma'am.
You got her excited. Amen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this has been good. Any other leadership tips or anything you want to share as we wrap up?
Treat people the way you would like to be treated.
I just shared that. Yes. Say it
Treat people.
loud for the people in the back, as
Tre-
they say.
Treat people the way you would like to be treated. All of
Absolutely.
us desire love. All of us desire compassion. All of us desire empathy. All of us, there's some point that
Grace.
all of us need all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I need it, you need it too.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Absolutely.
need it, someone else needs it. And I
Mm-hmm.
even heard Snoop Dogg say, the greatest king was the green kings that love to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about that. And this is the thing that is so I've found to be super interesting. There are people that we don't consider to be part of the kingdom or
Mm-hmm.
Christendom that are
Mm-hmm.
living by the principles that we're supposed to live by.
Better than
So
us. Yeah.
therefore, they are being successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
wait now. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
How you gonna be more successful than the folk that claim they know?
Mm-hmm.
Almost I made the decision. I'm gonna live by the same principles that you living by because you got them out of the book that I'm supposed to follow,
Mm-hmm.
and they do.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that I will serve you, I don't care if you're a homeless man or if you the person in the palace. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter to me. I can
Mm-hmm.
serve you wherever you
Right.
are because you have a need and I have the ability to meet it.
Absolutely.
So why would I not
Mm-hmm. Do unto others as you would have them to do
do
unto
unto
you. The
you?
golden rule. So
That's
that
right.
that is our message for the night. And I second Rhonda Cozart. Good
Mhm.
evening, sis. She's in the comments. The golden rule. We all second that. Second,
That's
third,
right.
all of that.
That's right.
Now that's the whole truth. Yes. And
That's right.
servitude is the heart of God.
That's
This
right.
has been amazing. It's been such a great conversation around leadership, connection, collaboration, and being a servant leader, and just about also letting go. We didn't talk about it, but letting go of ego. and pride, the things that keep us from one another and also from walking in our true self. And then we did touch
Mhm.
a little bit on networking. And I
Mhm.
believe that a lot of times we don't show up in spaces where we can be open to receive new things because we're so caught up in ourselves. We're so caught
Mhm.
up in our discomforts and all of that. And sometimes seeking comfortability does not serve us. It does not serve us. And so
There's
we didn't
nothing
really
in
get
your comfort zone.
no nothing.
Nothing good is in your comfort zone. I
Yeah.
would not have met half the people that are watching this live if I had just operated in my comfort zone, because there
Yeah.
are some I met when I didn't have one.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
didn't have a comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah, and we need each other to push each other.
That's
And
right.
so that's back
That's
to
right.
that know, like, trust, and
Mhm.
being able to do life together, and why connection. I know I keep coming back to it, but it's
That's
just
right.
all of it is so significant. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on as
Mhm.
one of our leaders in the Voice of Leadership series is because the sound coming from you is definitely servant leadership and connection. And I believe so many of us forget that we are actually supposed to be connected to one another, and we are supposed to serve one
That's
another.
right.
And we forget that, and
That's
we
right.
do life. And it begins to when you start to see your world falling apart, go back and see what it is that you know you're supposed to be doing,
That's
and
right.
get out of those silos, and who it is that you're maybe supposed to be serving. And
Right.
back to what Jocelyn said, and I echo that sentiment. And it'll help you to get out of that dark place and into the light. So this has been amazing. I do want to share one of the things we talked about is that what we didn't talk about, but we do need to talk about from a networking perspective. If you would like to connect, that's what we talked about. Then get in touch with Jocelyn by using any of the information scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. The connectionspecialist.com is her website. You can find her on IG and Twitter at Jocelin T McElderry. And then on Facebook, she has a group, The Connection Specialist. And of course, you can always find her in the Praying CEO, because that's my sister friend who I just really, truly respect as a leader. So whether we were friends or not, if I was following her, I would have asked her to be a part of this series. And yes, Rhonda, it is definitely stretching season. And we were talking about, as we close out, I want to highlight my sponsors. And if anybody would like to be on the show and or on the podcast and or any of our shows, or be a sponsor, get your advertising or anything going, you can use info@coffeeandcollaborations.com to reach out to us, and we can promote your business. So or have you on the podcast, any of the podcasts or the TV show. But I want to highlight our sponsor. And I also want to highlight an event. So let me first highlight our sponsor. Elton Benjamin has been doing my graphics for the for everything I do, but for the collaboration culture podcast for coffee and collaborations for a while now. And he has come out with, as we're talking about leadership, he has come out with a book that I think many leaders should try to grab. All right. And so normally I share his website information, go to him for marketing, branding, all of that, which you still can, but you can go to eltonbenjamin.com and get your before 8:45 a.m. daily devotional for men and or women. I got my copies and I plan to get some more because I think it's going to be an amazing gift. Don't let anyone steal your day. The statistics and research show that 8:45 is the most common time where people feel happy and motivated. So just imagine if you allow somebody to steal your day, you're not maximizing the moment where you can find your happiness, your joy, your whatever, and maximize those times, right? In order to succeed, be successful, move forward. So this is his new day-to-day devotional from the mind of Elton Benjamin. So if you don't want to continue to allow people to steal your day, grab this journal. I'm going to share this evening instead of sharing the marketing and all of that. You can reach out to him for marketing, graphics and branding and all of that. But I want to highlight this because we're talking about leadership, and leadership moves, and leaders do start their day intentionally. You do not let people steal your day. Okay. So wanted to share that, and also want to share with you an event that I have coming up. I would love to have you to join. We talked about this group quite a bit. The praying sheet, that we're in this group quite a bit. You know what? First, let me share something about that I never share. If you have not gotten your copy of the Debt Detox, it is time to get your finances in order. I am going to be doing a win shop very soon for those who have the book, to walk you through it to get to the next level in your finances. And I'm going to tell you, I have been receiving great feedback from people who have this book, and I've been coaching people through it. And I haven't talked about it enough, but the debt freedom, but then also the budgeting, the saving, the investments, the credit. I mean, all of the things that I'm hearing from my clients has been awesome. And I know I don't share this enough. So it was in my spirit to share this evening. So if you don't have your copy of the Debt Detox, be sure to get your copy so that you can join me in the next win shop, or if you know someone. And this time, if you have a copy, I'm not even charging. Normally it's $99. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something very inexpensive because I want to see as many people as possible to achieve leadership, financial leadership success before the end of 2023. So once again, if you know of anyone, the Debt Detox, you can go to Kimberly Winborne LLC.com, and that'll take you to Amazon. You can get your copy. It's only $20 for anybody that's local and you would like to get a copy from me so you can save shipping or what have you. Just reach out. Okay. And then let's see. I see some comments over here. What y'all saying? Okay. Rhonda, I have my
We
copy.
got ours.
I have mine. Thank you all for getting your copy. If you would like to join this win shop that I have coming up here very soon, then let me know. It is a great resource. I am late, Lord. You are silly, Dr. Letitia. I have mine as well. Yeah, I believe that many of us can and will, if we decide to, then we can and will achieve financial freedom, financial leadership. And I just want to help guide you through that. Okay. It is possible. So for those of you who are in the area on Juneteenth, I am over at Shaw University, and Shaw University has blessed my whole entire life, y'all. And I have learned so much, and I want to share it with you. And you guys know I love events, and I'm going to be educating, right? I'm going to be hopefully inspiring, and others are going to be working with me to do this. A couple of my professors, a couple of people that I've worked with through this journey. We are going to do the gathering a little bit different. We're celebrating the history of the African American church from roots to resurgency. So many people mishandle what precious gift we have in the Black church. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. When you come to this, be ready to fellowship, be ready to get information, be ready to get good food, be ready to get good wisdom, good word, dance, music, everything you could think of. This event I am so excited about. God has put on my heart to celebrate the history of the African American church by educating, right? So from roots, we going back to Africa, y'all. We got to change the narrative because we getting misinformation. So from roots to resurgency, this is about reigniting the flame, right? Reigniting the flame. Gone is the old, reigniting the flame. All right. So come back so y'all can see me. All right, so anybody interested, be sure to follow me so that you can get your ticket. If anybody would like to be a vendor, you have a business, this is an opportunity to do so and to be in community, which we talked about, right, Jocelyn? Community, to connect with new people. So I'm truly excited about everything that is going to happen on that day. And if you didn't notice, the first guy, Dr. Eric Williams, he's coming all the way from the DMV. He is the curator of Black Religious Studies at Smithsonian, and is going. Yes, he's the curator for the Black Religious Studies at the African American History Museum, the Smithsonian. But he's also over at Duke Divinity now. He's going to be starting at Duke Divinity as the director of Black Religious Studies. But he happens to be, yep. So this, and then Dr. Maxwell, oh my gosh. Y'all just need to get your ticket. You just need to come. I am so excited about this event. I want you guys to meet them. I want you to get the story of African history to African American church history. Okay. Can you tell I'm excited? I don't think I thought I talked about that more than my book, didn't I? I'm gonna do better. Okay. So Tawanda, hey Tawanda, praise God. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Thank you once again to Jocelin T, McElderry. Be sure to follow her, the connection specialist, because she does lives that will bless your whole life. She does events. I told her to try to send me, I asked her if she would send me that calendar because I want to be sure to get there on a Friday night so I can hang out virtually with the ladies and connect with new people. I like virtual networking these days. It's a little bit easier with my schedule, but my schedule is crazy and I want to be there. But please connect with her, and you will not regret it. I'm telling you, trust me, you will not regret it. All right. Y'all have a great night. Thank you all for joining. We will see you on the next time. That should be June 6th, I believe. We'll see you there with another leader. Thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of your night.
Have a great night, everybody.
This has been a Coffee and Collaborations Media production.